Okay, welcome to the first ever podcast. We got Jon Cara, the director of the RINK Player Development. How are you doing, Jon?
Very good. Excited to be here. It's a big day.
It was pretty professional how we got that intro.
Yep.
Eh?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Do you want to say hi to Jon?
Mr. Cara, how's it
Very
going?
good. Like your background there, too. Good.
Glad you could join us today. Take away from doing your skating stretches and exercises in the driveway, teaching all your neighborhood kids. Glad you could make time.
That's a huge day. Huge day for me. So appreciate you guys having me.
So Jon, just to start off, how are things been going the last couple of weeks? I know no one's at work. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy? I know you got some kids, so I'm pretty sure you're doing some home teaching. Why don't you tell everyone kind of what you've been up to the last couple of weeks?
The last couple of weeks, it's been working from home. So our kids have been pretty good for the most part. They usually kind of hit the bewitching hour around 2:45. So we've got about 20 minutes here currently until the wheels fall off. But Kingston's been getting pretty good at PlayStation and usually does schoolwork first thing in the morning. And then Veda, she's finally playing with all those Barbies and LOL dolls that were kind of tucked away for a long time. So it's been good, but the majority of the work has been going on my wife's shoulders. So Cara's been doing the majority of the grunt work right now.
You just been doing the gym teaching or what?
Yeah, I usually run gym class at noon. So usually that's kind of the outdoor time where we go outside and the kids get to rip around. So it's been fun.
You sit on a lawn chair and just blow your whistle, or is that what you do? Like tell them when to stop and start? Or? Well,
that might have been how you guys did things in Brandon and Transcona. But we're out there in LaSalle. We're running around and we played 2 games of soccer, so we've had a couple good games of that.
You're not making the kids get up at 5 a.m. for your workout?
Well, Kingston usually gets up at 7, and then we go for a jog at 7. So he usually chooses the route. So we did that. We do that on Tuesday and Thursday, but they get to sleep in a little bit.
Okay. Well, so just kind of going through your hockey DB here, Johnny. You started off in the MJ. And then you moved your way to the BCHL, and then on to the WHL, and then into the CIS. Talking to a lot of parents, a lot of kids, that's one thing that they always ask us is kind of the route we took, and some of the things that you saw coming through your path. Why don't you tell everyone kind of your path, your journey through hockey? Some of the ups and downs that maybe you saw, or some things that you didn't see coming, or maybe you would have changed along the way, if anything at all.
Yeah, so, typical minor hockey days. I grew up in a small town called St. Eustache out by Eli and played minor hockey there, and then played AAA in Central Plains. It was really I only played 2 years of AAA and then jumped into junior. So you go from being a big fish to, just trying to hang on. So my first year in BC started off real well. It was a tough decision to leave home and go to BC. It was between, I was looking at going to Lethbridge or going to BC. And at that point, I decided I was going to go after a scholarship and try to do that. And it was a challenging decision to make, but when I got out there, everything was going really well to start the year, and then kind of went in the tank a little bit. And then just really started to contemplate, hockey and where I was going with it. So it was an up and down year. And then at the end of that year, I decided I was going to jump to the Western League. I still had an opportunity to go to Lethbridge and just kind of continued my struggles there. I had lots of fun off the ice and made some good friends, but really, really struggled through junior. It wasn't an easy transition for me. And then I went back to Penticton when I was 20. So that was a good opportunity. I got a chance to play when I went back there. But for me, when I look back on, talked to lots of different people about this as well, but the decision you make at 16 or 17, whatever that decision is, I think it's important that you stick with it and you stay with the route that you've chosen, because to bounce back and forth just makes it tough and you never really establish yourself. I look at it like a job, like, you start off in a company, you work your way up. Same thing in junior hockey, nothing happens super quick. Your first year is usually ugly for most, unless you're exceptional, and then you kind of build from there. So that was kind of where my path went. So
what were some of the factors, Johnny, that you took into consideration when you were making your choice to like go to BC or go to the WHL? What were some of those factors you and your family looked at?
Well, for me, it was at the time when we made the decision. I always, and Chewy, you'll love this, but I mean, everybody in Manitoba, you want to be a wheat king. So for me, it was, I always wanted to play in the Western League. That was who I grew up watching. And then the decisions that kind of went into it was just, my parents didn't have a ton of knowledge about hockey. I mean, my mom and dad tried to reach out to as many people as they knew for advice. And when it came to my personal situation at 17, I wasn't, a big player by any means. I could skate well, but I was, 160, 170 pounds. So I think it was Craig Heisinger that told my dad that, if I went to the Western League and Jordan Tutu got a hold of me, that he'd probably be able to blow my arms right off my sockets. So for me, the decision to stay, at the junior A level, at that time, I just felt with my family that it was the best option for me based on where I was at in development. So
now you mentioned your skating, and that's one thing, that kind of pops off the page when I've seen you play, whether it's senior hockey or old footage. With that speed, was that like a natural ability, or was that something that you had to work at? Because that's another question a lot of people want to know is, can you create that type of speed without a natural ability, or did you have to work for that speed?
Well, I mean, I used to fail at Ken skate every year, so I'd do it 2 or 3 times. So I think that might have laid the foundation for me. So it'd be like doing learn to skate 3 or 4 times just to get to the next level. So I don't know if that helped, but that was, something that kind of laid it for me. And then, my dad used to take me rollerblading. We lived in the country, but there was one patch of asphalt, so we used to go rollerblading there, and he'd clock me how fast I was going. So I used to work at that. And then you have to be innovative when you live outside the city. So we used to have a tire that I would drag down the gravel road that would fill up with gravel, and I'd have to keep going for like 10 to 20 reps. But other than that, I didn't do very much to work on my skating until I went to Edge of Excellence hockey school when I was, 14 or whatever. But I think a lot of it maybe came from those foundational years for Ken skate, and then Dad get me to drag a tire. So.
And that was the when you went to Edge of Excellence, was that like the first time you saw kind of the skill development breakdown in the stride and stuff like that?
Yeah, that was the first camp I went to that was real specific like that. The only other camp I'd been to was with Dr. Jeff Leader in Gimli, and that was his dad's camp, and he was kind of a local celebrity at it. So it was we used to do that in the summer too. But Edge of Excellence was the first one, and my dad made sure that I knew that he was spending a lot of money on me to go to that camp. So I had to learn and focus. So
you didn't go to the Dragon Lady?
You know what? I did a Dragon Lady session. I remember it was really good. It was a lot of fun. She's real demanding, but
terrifying. She's terrifying. She told me one time that you don't even need to have sharp skates to be able to be a great skater. She said she never sharpened her skates once in her career, and she was teaching us power skating with figure skates. So I thought that was interesting.
Oh, that's good. Flat bottom V.
She asked me how well I shoot the puck and if I was tough after my one session with her. So I think it was a little bit of a inside that I didn't really have a lot of luck of becoming a swift skater.
You don't have to shoot the puck. I don't know if you ever saw David Roy shoot a puck, but he could skate, but they weren't very close when he'd shoot it. So
cool. Okay, so Jon, why don't you? When did you first kind of get into teaching hockey, like on the development side? Obviously, it started a little bit with Dave Roy in that first camp that you went to, but why don't you tell everybody kind of when you started kind of working with players and that kind of route that you started with?
Yeah, well, I think David Roy was the very first person that I worked for. That was Edge of Excellence. And I remember literally after the first week coming home and my dad asking me, like, how was the first week? Did you enjoy it? And I just remember saying, like, I think I could do this for a living. Like, this is something that is so rewarding, seeing kids be able to, develop, or you tell them something and they can do it, and then seeing their eyes light up. So, obviously at that time when you're still playing, it's more of a summer job, but it was always something that I never looked at as work. It was always something I really looked forward to. And obviously based on your path of where you play, I played in Penticton. So my wife's from there. So I ended up going back there for the summers to work at Okanagan hockey schools. And out there I worked with a guy named Rob McLaughlin. We worked to develop a power skating program out there for their hockey schools. And again, just another super professional organization that was able to learn a ton and be surrounded by great coaches. And then the one year I came back, and my good buddy Ryan Sear had come to move to Winnipeg, and he was starting GDI Prairies. And that was kind of my first intro into the rink. So went and checked it out, and then started working for my assistant coach at U of M at the time. He was overseeing a lot of the programs at the rink. So I started there, and again, just like I said with my junior career, like you get an opportunity to get your foot in the door, and if you work hard enough at something and you continue to grow, and you're supported by good people and good owners like we have at the rink, I've been blessed with kind of all the opportunities I've had along the way. But each and every opportunity, there was something that I took away from it. And I think that was the biggest thing for me is, with teaching now, and what I try to, implement with what we do at the rink is, all part and parcel of all these other coaches that I've learned from. It's not just, me coming up with the ideas. It's all those guys plus the guys I have with me on a day-to-day basis that are all part of it. Right. So that's kind of what, got me to this point, and, something I really enjoy to do. So
what's Johnny, going from being a player to getting into the market of, teaching and being a skills coach, what's the biggest change you've seen in the teaching? Is it like the equipment? Is it in, the technique? Is it in the athlete over the years? What's the biggest change that you've seen in the industry?
Well, I think that the technical side of the game, or the advancements with sticks, is obviously, a massive contributor to learning how to shoot. Everything's different with shooting now. But also I think just in the approach you have to players, like I said, like when I went to Edge of Excellence when I was 12 years old, like that camp came to Winnipeg once a year, and now you've got programs like ours going out to communities and like going to St. Eustache and working with players there. Like it's there for players more. Whereas before it was like, you did this once in a while, you did training once in a while, the off season was the off season, and then you dug your skates out for one camp. Like now players are expecting it, and they're experiencing it all the time through their whole season, through their off season. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen that's changed. And your approach to players is obviously different. We all know, even what's going on in the NHL this year with a lot of the coaches and what's come out. Like for a lot of us, that was the norm when we played. It wasn't anything to question a lot of the stories that are out now. good and bad is that, kids are questioning it now, and the kids will ask questions on the ice all the time. You would never ask a question back in the day of a coach. So,
that's for sure.
So good and bad, I think, those are kind of the things that I've seen.
Cool. Okay. So, just to kind of talk about a little bit of your history in the game, like when you were a little guy, rumor has it used to be like a stick boy or something for a big hockey club. Is that true?
I had the opportunity to be stick boy and water boy through Craig Heisinger. My parents were teachers, so in service days, Zinger would have me, I get to spend the day with him and basically help him out as much as I could. And now that I look back on it, like at the time when you're a kid, you don't think about how cool that is. But now, being older, I first off, I can't believe that he would offer to do that, to help out and have me there, especially on some game days with the amount of stuff he had going on. But I had the opportunity when I was 7, or I think it was 8 or 9, maybe, where I was with the team there just for in-service days. So it was good. It was really cool.
What's one memory? I think this is what Oster was going to ask you. What's one memory that sticks out for you doing those days? Like, was it that you looked up to the first kind of, hey, that's a pro hockey player, that's someone I see on TV, or was it this that they had great snacks in the dressing room?
Yeah, no, I think.
What do you mean by stacks?
Snacks.
I thought you said stacks too, because I was going to talk about Mackenzie, who was on the team.
Podcast here.
Yeah. No, I mean, probably one of the coolest stories I had was with Keith Tkachuk. Him and Timo Solani. I mean, Solani didn't speak that well, but they were both great to me. But Tkachuk was exceptional. Like, everyone would leave for the day, and I just remember the one day he was explaining to me, it was just him and I were watching TV on the big screen, and he was explaining college football to me, just like how much he loved it and how great college was. And like, now I look back on it, I'm sitting there with a guy that's a legend, just on a couch, like sitting with him, just watching college football. And then there was a restaurant called Fingers downtown, and he took me there for lunch the one day, and I remember he opened up his wallet, and I'd never seen that many $50 bills in a wallet. He bought me lunch, like, and I'm just, you look back on it now, and it's just like, you think about things like that, like, it's like, that they took the time to do that Zinger took the time to have me, in there as water boy, to take that on, plus those guys to take me for lunch, like, you know what I mean? Like, those are the stories that nobody knew about Keith Tkachuk when he was in Winnipeg, right? So.
Well, everyone knows my cousin married Tkachuk, so I got to know him pretty good. And he's just one of those guys, a stand-up guy. And I remember one time I was at a Jets party, and I was probably like 12 years old, playing Mustang hockey, and we're all looking for our sponsorship on the back of our jerseys. You always had to get a sponsor, Midway Chrysler or whatever. And I was just selling like tickets, like raffle tickets. So I went up to Tkachuk and I was like, hey man, like, can you buy some tickets? Thinking he's going to, buy $20 worth or whatever. And I show him the raffle tickets, and he goes, well, I don't want that. And I said, well, okay, sorry. And he goes, no, he's like, I want to sponsor your jersey. And I said, well, I don't, like, what do you mean? He's like, no, I want to put my name on the bottom of your jersey. And it was the same thing. He like opened up his wallet and threw me $300 across the table. And I looked at my dad and I was like, can we make this happen? And my dad's like, yeah, we can make this happen. So pretty stand-up guy. That's pretty cool though. Anything that when you were with the Jets, anything like style-wise that you kind of took? And what I mean by style-wise is, I remember when I saw Phil Housley's stick, it was the first time I ever seen a guy shave down the knob of his stick back in the old days of wooden sticks. So the second I saw that, the first thing I did was I torched the end of my stick and filed it down. Any weird things or style things that you kind of took from those guys?
Well, I can remember like the different knobs on sticks. So obviously Solani had like no knob. He just had, kind of like the snake around, just a couple loops. And So you always remember like the knobs that guys had on their sticks, and then you try to replicate those type thing. But not off the top of my head, I was lucky. Like Zinger always, supplied me with sticks type thing for working for him. So I always had, great sticks, and he always took care of me that way. And then, the Bauer 3000, Solani had those, so had to get a pair of those. But yeah, no, nothing super style wise. I always had really nice stuff because of Zing, so nothing crazy from that era.
Who had the best flow on the team and then when you were a stick boy?
Best flow on the team.
If you say Momantha, I'm going to kill you.
What's that?
I said, if you say Momantha, I'm going to kill you.
I'm trying to think who had crazy long hair.
Was Sean Cronin playing? He had good hair.
No.
Jimmy Kite.
Sheldon Kennedy came through. He had pretty good hair when he came through. Dave Manson had the mullet.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The mullet then. He was pretty good. Those are kind of the guys I remember. I remember Mike Eagles was just, like, locked in. Like, you couldn't talk to him on game days. Like, it was stay clear of him. Like, I had to put Gatorade in everybody's stall, and I'd put it in his stall, and he'd just have his head down just, like, jamming out. But other than that, there was times where I knew that when they'd put up they had like a red kind of thing they'd pull across, like a sheath or whatever. They'd put that up, and that was when I knew I had to go into Zinger's room, which was far away from there. And that was when Paddock was coaching, because Zinger didn't want me to hear those types of things. So
you didn't learn any new words or what?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it was cool. Like I remember I hated Darian Hatcher too, because he took out somebody. I can't remember if he took out Kachuk or who it was in a game, and then so Chris King fought him, and I got the tap. I had to go in and untie Chris King's skates because his hands were in ice. Like ice pails, so he had him iced there. But Hatcher, I remember just hating Hatcher because he was just, yeah. And I sat between the benches where like McGuire and those guys would sit, so I would just hear those guys yelling at each other back and forth. But that was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Pretty cool.
So I guess we'll finish this interview up just, I guess, with one more question. You've been in the game for a while now, whether you're a player, skill development coach, etc. What do you get out of it still on a day-to-day? Obviously, you get something out of helping players, but what do you get out of it? Like when you're working through progressions and stuff like that, is there more that drives you than just the skill development and working with players? Is there something that you want to share?
Like, I think for me, it's evolved, right? So it started off where it was, that reward of seeing a kid do something. I still think you have those same things now, obviously, with working with teams and different levels of players. For me, the biggest reward is seeing guys be able to, implement it in a game and have success with it. So that would be one factor. And then the other side of it for me now is the coach development side. So just seeing the way that, our reputation at the rink has grown, and that's grown because of all the people we have and the way they teach. So being able to walk through a rink and see, another coach teaching things, the way that you would do it, and the way that we've developed it is now super rewarding as well. And then the last part would just be now, my son's involved in the game now too. So seeing his development, at our facility has been crazy, right? So, it's not really a job, right? It's something that we all love to do. So,
all right. Chewy, you got any more questions for Johnny?
One last question. I know you scored a lot of goals in your MJ career, BCHL career, and when you played in the CIS and all that. But what's the one goal you remember and had the best celly for? Do you remember one goal that sticks out over your illustrious hockey career?
Well, I had one in CIS where I went drove down. It was shorthanded. We were in Lakehead, and I drove down the outside on my backhand, so down the right side of the ice, and I put it backhand right over the goalie's shoulder, just on the glove side, so like right, there's no space. And I had one like that year, and then I had another one, same thing in Regina later that year. So those are probably your most memorable. And then obviously your first goals, like first one in the Western League, first one in BC, obviously stick with you. And then had the teddy bear toss in Portage. So only had a handful of goals, so that's all of them that I just told you about.
That's awesome. Those are memories that stick for you with them forever.
Yeah. Hey, when you scored on Lakehead, did you beat Andy Zeleniak wide?
No, he wasn't there yet. He was, solidifying himself as BCHL Defenseman of the Year that year in Vernon. So
I believe Coach Andy says no one ever beat him wide.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I've seen him get beat wide a few times when he played his few games in WHL. So.
The only time I beat him wide is in when we played Shell.
Well, it's because he's talking on the ice all the time. You'd be skating by him and he'd be asking him how you're doing and how your family is.
Yeah.
You'd pause and look back at him and wonder what he's talking to you about. Not like you though, Ice, eh? No talking on the ice.
I was in the penalty box. I wasn't as nice as Andy. We could talk after the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, Kate, thanks, John. Thanks for coming out and thanks for participating in the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Johnny.
Lots of fun. We'll see you guys again.